morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Let's jump into it. Cosmic weather, starting off at spaceweather.com. Solar wind at 420.3 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is at a 1. Could get as high as a 2 in the next 24 hours. The only corona hole we see is the one down here, forming underneath. M-class flare possibility is up to 30% chance. X-class flare has gone back up 10%. Was back down to 5. And geomagnetic storm activity is still relatively low. 5% in the mid-latitudes, can get as high as 10% in the upper latitudes, higher latitudes. We had a flare the other day, almost an X-class flare. It tells you here. Sunspot complex AR 15, 20, and 21 erupted on the 19th, producing an M7 class solar flare that almost crossed the threshold into X territory. So we'll be feeling the effect of this over the next couple days. So stay tuned for that. We are into 19th here. So we're in between signs when it comes to the unconscious. So the conscious mind is still the same yet. Conscious mind is Cancerian energy, water, emotions, feelings. That's what we've been dealing with this last month. We've only got another one more day of it. The underlying energy, which is the unconscious mind, today is a void of course moon. It's void of course because we're between two signs, Cancer and Leo, as you can see right here. The moon is Cancer and Leo, so this means void of course in between the two. Leo is fire, Cancer is water, so we're in between the fire and the water phase down here underneath. So just think about how fire and water work together. You've worked with them for a long time, you understand. That's what we're working with unconsciously, consciously, water. Now the current moon phase, we're at that new moon phase. Started yesterday, and it's going through the process. You can see we're completely nothing showing at all, so send out some new moon energy. The Mayan Oracle brings us to a 13-tone day. 13-tone is called the cosmic tone of presence. The kin for today is the human. So we're right here, the 13th position. So today is called the cosmic human, guided by the warrior. Phrase for today is I endure in order to influence transcending wisdom. I seal the process of free will with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of intelligence. And then on the Gregorian calendar, today is the 19th of July. You know, one thing I don't think I've ever brought up that you can do is you can put your own birth date right into here. You can find out what your particular signature is for the day. It's called your galactic signature. So you just put in your day of birth, your month, the day, and the year. Click for the reading, and you'll find out, and it will show you. And it'll give you the whole matrix of what it is, so you'll be able to understand more about yourself. Alright? So there you have it. That is our cosmic weather today, so you know how to go and surf with what's going on. You're dealing with emotions. You're dealing with the changing of the guard unconscious between fire and water. You've got these solar energies that are out there, so we need to be on guard for those. So those are all the things we're dealing with. Changing of the guard from Cancer energy to Leo. There's a difference right there. One's going from the emotions to pure creativity. Alright? Alright. So, continuing on. This is the week of the moon landing. The anniversary of the moon landing. So all week long, in honor of that, I've been playing pieces that deal with the moon landing hoax. Because there is a big conspiracy theory out there that we didn't go. This is another piece. This is just one part of it. I've been only playing the first part of these shows. You can watch the rest of them yourself. This one was on years ago. It's a good piece. Moon landing hoax conspiracy theory. Check it out. Here we go.
The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. Viewers are invited to make a judgment based on all available information. Tonight,
liftoff. We have a liftoff.
We investigate the most extraordinary event of the 20th century.
It's one small step for man.
Man landing on the moon.
One giant leap for mankind.
But believe it or not, some people say it never happened.
This whole thing was a fake.
Decide for yourself as we explore the evidence.
The Eagle has landed.
Analyze official government photos.
What a ride, what a ride.
Examine the films.
The flag flaps on the moon where there's no atmosphere.
And hear the testimony of one former astronaut who's not afraid to speak his mind.
NASA could have covered it up.
Could the government have orchestrated the deception of the century?
NASA could have pulled off the greatest hoax of all time.
You be the judge. On Conspiracy Theory, did we land on the moon?
On July 16th, 1969, America held its breath.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Apollo 11 blasted into space, beginning its 250,000-mile journey to the moon. During their 8-day voyage, the Apollo 11 astronauts saw spectacular views of the Earth, floated in a weightless environment, and supposedly went where no man had gone before.
There's looking good, down a half. Lights on, picking up some dust. 4 forward, drifting to the right a little. Contact light. Okay, engine stop. We copy you down, Eagle. Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
But did it? Did they really land on the moon? Most of us think so. Millions of people watched on television as the lunar lander touched down, and these unforgettable words were spoken.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
But even today, there are those who claim that believing in man's one small step requires one giant leap of faith. Bill Casing was an analyst and engineer at Rocketdyne, the company that designed the Apollo rockets.
There were many problems that evolved during the 60s that led people to believe that we're never going to make it to the moon.
Three decades ago, when the world watched Apollo's lunar landings, Bill Casing was watching too. But what he saw on television, combined with his experiences at Rocketdyne, made him a skeptic.
The whole thing then seemed phony to me. I think it was an intuitive feeling that what was being shown was not real.
As he studied the footage more closely, he was shocked to find several inconsistencies. Casing observed that despite the clarity of deep space, the stars were missing from the black lunar sky. He saw the American flag waving, even though there is no air on the moon. And he discovered that there was no blast crater beneath the lunar lander, where its powerful rocket engine had fired. This evidence convinced Casing that we never sent a man to the moon. But NASA dismisses these charges.
There are always going to be people who believe
some outlandish theories, and the notion that we somehow were able to fake the lunar missions is pretty outlandish.
As outlandish as it might seem, it has been estimated that as many as 20% of Americans believe we never went to the moon. But how could anyone think that one of the greatest moments in human history is a hoax? Is it really possible that NASA deceived the world? According to a former astronaut, it's entirely possible.
Regarding the Apollo mission, I can't say 100% for sure whether these men walked on the moon.
Brian O'Leary was a NASA astronaut in the 1960s and served as a science advisor during the Apollo moon missions.
It's possible that NASA could have covered it up just in order to cut corners and to be the first to allegedly go to the moon.
Was getting to the moon first so important that our government would consider faking it? To find the answer, we have to go back 40 years, to a time when America and the Soviets were locked in a struggle for world domination.
People assumed that the nation that won the space race would win the Cold War. We defined that as being first to the moon. It was a time of more or less national hysteria.
On October 4th, 1957, the Soviets terrified America when they sent Sputnik, the world's first satellite, into orbit.
The New York Times had to publish an article explaining to Americans that it did not carry nuclear bombs that could be dropped on the city from that altitude.
The American public's fear of nuclear annihilation intensified as Russia took the lead in the space race.
House Speaker announced in Congress that we may be headed for extinction.
Many feared that the Soviet Union's ultimate goal was to put a missile base on the moon. Meanwhile, America's space program was having difficulty even getting off the ground.
The chances of getting to the moon and returning safely to Earth were something like 0.0017%. In other words, virtually an impossibility.
What actually happened, in my mind, is that during the 60s, they said, if you can't make it, fake it.
But if the Apollo missions were fake, how was this monumental hoax accomplished? According to Casing, the launch of Apollo's Saturn V rocket was real. It just never sent astronauts to the moon.
The astronauts were launched with the Saturn V. Then, in order to account for their disappearance, they simply orbited the Earth for 8 days. And in the interim, they showed these fake pictures of the astronauts on the moon. But on the 8th day, the command capsule separated from the vehicle and descended to Earth, as of course was shown in films.
This theory inspired the 1978 movie Capricorn 1, in which the government attempts to fool the world by faking a mission to Mars.
We do not claim this planet in the name of America. We claim it in the name of all the people of the planet Earth.
The Apollo footage is strikingly similar to the scenes in Capricorn 1. Producer Paul Lazarus suggests that the film's plotline could be more fact than fiction.
I believe, had they wanted to, that NASA could indeed have pulled off the greatest hoax of all time, never sent anyone to the moon, and recreated it in a television studio. And I believe it could have been done at that time. The technology was in place.
The pudding is solid. The surface seems powdery.
Surface is fine and powdery. I can pick it up loosely with my toe.
What we put up on the screen was our own simulated version of whatever we could do within a $4.8 million budget.
But with NASA's $40 billion budget, Casing believes they had the resources to pull off a hoax if they couldn't make it to the moon.
The reason I believe that NASA and the government faked the moon landing
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. All right, sorry to leave you hanging on that UFO or the piece on the moon landing. You're just going to have to click on the link and follow it to part number 2 on your own. But it's well worth the watch. Pretty interesting, don't you think? All right. UFO news. UFO news. I got 6 stories today. Story number 1. UFO sighting mysterious craft crashes into mountain. Reno news report. Check this out.
Investigators are still trying to figure out how a fire was started on Desert Way in Reno last night. Many residents say they saw what appeared to be an airplane crash into the mountainside, but firefighters say all planes have been accounted for, and that wasn't the case. The Reno Fire Department received phone calls of a fire along the Virginia Range between Rio Wrangler and Alexander Lake just before 11 o'clock last night. Both Reno and the Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District responded. Crews were able to contain the fire to just about an acre. Witnesses on scene say again that they appeared to have seen what appeared to be an airplane or perhaps a meteorite soaring through the sky and then crashing into the hillside.
I was in shock because I didn't know what it was and I didn't know what to believe, or if it was a fire or some sort of weird light.
He said he noticed something heading straight towards the ground, and when I looked over towards the general direction, I saw basically what looked like an explosion.
Officials would not say whether or not they found anything on scene, and the cause of the fire is still unknown.
All right, so there you go. That's first story. Next story. Retired Air Force Colonel talks about UFO sightings. This is a longer piece here for you. This is 8 minutes long. I'm not going to play it here because it's a lot longer than, but I wanted to make this available to you because this is pretty good piece here. Well, you know what? Let me play the beginning of it just so you know what it is. How about that? How about if I push the right button?
During my over 30 years of researching ufology, I've spoken with many
pilots and military officers from around the world who had intriguing UFO stories and sightings to share. Recently, a story from a 35-year CIA veteran by the name of Chase Brandon made national headlines when Lee Spiegel from the Huffington Post posted a story about Brandon's claims that he viewed documents held by the CIA that confirmed the Roswell incident was of extraterrestrial origin. Brandon first told the story on Coast to Coast. Then in an interview with Spiegel, Brandon stated, quote, "It was a vaulted area and not everybody could get in." Whether Brandon's story can be confirmed or not, it seems that more and more retired military officials or ex-government workers are coming out and sharing their experiences of what they have witnessed.
All right, so there you go. So that is a little sample of what was going on there. So check out the rest of the piece. Like I said, it's 8 minutes long. All right, UFO caught on tape over Oregon. This was on the 15th of July. Here we go. Object flares bright night vision. Jump ahead here. Alright, right there, right in the middle. Big bright thing there. Yeah, something else here. There we go. Okay. Well, this was pretty bright here, almost like it's blinking, and then this is the one that's moving. Alright, so there you go. That's this sighting that was seen over Oregon. Now we have one over Ohio. This was on the 18th. This is what it looks like here. I'll probably edit this to show the good parts. I've been observing constant UFO activity in Brown County, Ohio for the last year, starting during the summer of 2011. The type ranges from these brighter, almost pulsating objects to other objects which seem to flicker a kaleidoscope of colors while moving. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we have. Now this is a long piece. This is 18 minutes long.
Right now it is dawn, I think.
And
Lucky.
let me just fast forward here. There's something. Is that it? Alright, that appears to be the object in question.
Holy shit.
Look at that. It's very interesting how it's pulsating in and out like that.
What the fuck is that? You see that, guys?
That's pretty fascinating if that indeed is what's really going on. Pretty cool. Alright.
Whoa, what the fuck?
Alright, very good. So there's more of that 18 minutes worth. Here we have 2 UFOs seen during an air show in Chile on July 17th. Okay, here's the airplane. There's the object in question. Again, great footage. 2 UFOs caught during this week at the air show in Chile. First one is a cigar, 11 seconds in the video, while the second one, a white orb, 18 seconds in. So we're looking for 11 and 18 seconds into the video. Alright, there's our plane. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Right there. 11-second mark, so anytime here we should be seeing. There's the orb, okay, at the 18-second mark. Let's go back to that 11-second mark, see if we... I'm not seeing, is that right? 11 seconds? 11 seconds into the video. First one's a cigar. Okay, I'm not seeing that one. Might have to enlarge the screen for that. And there goes the orb. Right across, moves pretty fast. Alright. Very cool. So check that out. When you make the screen large, you'll be able to see it much clearer. And last one here, I want to alert you to this. This is an app. A UFO app. Have you ever witnessed a UFO? Even didn't have any camera? Those days are now over. Meet the new UFOetry iPhone app. UFOetry is an application made for UFO hunters out there. More than just an application, it's a useful tool that allows you to recover any UFO sightings and share them in real time with the UFOetry community worldwide. Make your own research record and settings with the UFOetry. You can also share your sightings in the Facebook wall. So there you go. Let me play this right here. What we got? Tells you how to sign up for one of these here. And basically sign up and add all your sightings so you can check it all out. Alright, very cool. Very cool. New app for UFOs. That's our UFO news report for today. Let me jump away to, just for a moment, I've got just a few news stories and then an interview today with Jill Matson. We'll talk about sound healing, all that kind of good stuff. So stay tuned. I'll be right back.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Okay, I'm back. So, continuing on. Next story here. This is Obama. So, there's a lot going on with this Obama guy. Obama, I like to call him Mr. Shuck and Jive because he's just shucking and jiving the old American people, isn't he? Now, this latest one here says Obama's Kenyan birth records discovered in British National Archive where lies go to die. Evidence discovered shows British Protectorate of East Africa recorded Obama's birth records before 1963 and sent returns of these events to Britain's Public Records Office and the coup branch of British National Archives. The last place anyone would think to look for a birth record of someone claiming to be a natural-born U.S. citizen is Great Britain. The very inclusion of the Article 2 eligibility mandate in the U.S. Constitution was explicitly intended by the Founding Fathers of America to prevent a then British-born enemy usurper from attaining the office of the U.S. presidency and thereby undermining the sovereignty of the newly formed nation. In the absence of honor, courage, and justice on the part of those serving on the U.S. Congress and the federal judiciary, Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio's cold case investigative posse has concluded that the only law enforcement analysis of the image of Obama's alleged certificate of live birth posted to a government website in April 2011 and found to be the product of criminal fraud and document forgery. The seemingly endless evidence against Obama has now taken investigators to the Foreign Archives of Great Britain, where it has been discovered that vital events occurring under the jurisdiction of the British colony of the Protectorate of East Africa prior to 1965 were recorded and held in the main office of the British Registrar in England until 1995 before being archived by the BNA. So, there's a whole article here for you to read, as you can see, and I would encourage you to go through and read this. Look, it's another piece of information. Obama is not who he seems to be. If anybody out there thinks that it's silly to be looking into this, I don't understand that. Because, as it says, the idea is to keep an enemy usurper from taking the position of presidency. That's what we have. We have an enemy in there. He doesn't have the same ideals as all Americans. I don't understand why Americans think it's so silly. It's silly that we're asking for his birth certificate. It's silly that he should prove. Why? This is America. United States of America. We believe things in America. Baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, right? Well, a guy like Obama isn't a baseball, hot dogs, apple pie kind of guy. He's a guy who writes and lists on his birth certificates or information that he's Muslim. He doesn't have the same ideals that you were brought up with by the Founding Fathers. Therefore, he is not exercising those ideals. He's exercising ideals of enemies, the enemies of this country when we separated at that time were Britain. He's exercising ideals that are enemy-like. Therefore, it's important. So if you don't understand that, I don't know how to express that anymore to you. But this is an important issue. And now if it's discovered, if there's truth to this, that his records are in Kenya showing that that's where he was born, folks, that's a big issue. And the big issue shouldn't be, are you looking at the birth certificate? It should be real easy. He's the president. He should show it. He should show that certificate. The issue should be that, that this man has fooled you. And maybe that's the biggest thing. Maybe people don't want to accept that they've been fooled. But you've been fooled, okay? You've been fooled by a man who his job is to fool people. So don't feel bad that you got fooled, because that's his job. He's been trained. He's been working with professionals to be able to do that. Just get over it and move forward, and let's change the situation. How about that? Now, the London Olympics. Here's an article from the Times of India. Just 8 days before the opening ceremony, London Olympics organizers are faced with a massive security concern. David Winnick of the Labour MP, it's a humiliating shambles, isn't it? Yes, it's not where we want it to be, that is certain. It's humiliating shambles for the company, yes or no? Nick Buckles, I cannot disagree with you. The CEO of security firm G4S, Nick Buckles, being grilled by British MPs after it became clear that they would be able to provide just over half of the 10,000 security personnel promised to be delivered by them. Scrambling to fill the security gap, additional 3,500 soldiers have been drafted in. David Cameron, British Prime Minister, said, when it comes to Olympics, we have to be ready for any contingency. We have to make sure there are safe and secure Olympics. So, in the midst of all the other nonsense going on out there, now, here we are, a few days, a week, a little more than a week away, and look at all the problems. They don't have the right security. So something's going on out there, folks. Something's going on to pay attention to. All the plans that they've had and they've been building up, and now this close. Is this some sort of intentional sabotage of a situation so that it can, when something bad happens, because there's a lot of plans, there's a lot of crazy rumors out there, and hopefully nothing bad's going to happen, but this is just another piece of a very weird puzzle. Okay, now moving from there. Today I have a guest I spoke with the other day, and I have this prepared for you. Her name is Jill Matson, and Jill is a healer. She works with sound and light. She's a musician, and she has a lot of information about sound and sound healing. So I'm going to play this for you. It's a half hour long. I'm going to play the whole thing here, so we're going to go just a little bit over today. I'll do this and then go right into the meditation. But I think you're going to find what Jill has to say to be very insightful. And her website is here. Welcome to First Contact Radio. This is Josh Poet. I'm here with Jill Matson. She's an author, artist, musician, and widely recognized expert and composer in the emerging field of sound healing. She has written 3 books and produced 6 CDs that combine intricate sound healing techniques with her original musical compositions. The CDs consist of intriguing musical tracks that also offer deep healing and growth possibilities. Jill, welcome to First Contact Radio. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Josh. I'm very glad to be here.
And how are you doing today?
It's a beautiful day. I'm in sunny Pennsylvania. It's very nice. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. So how long have you been doing sound healing?
I've been a musician since I was 5 years old,
Okay.
and I've been studying antiquities, ancient mystery schools, and healing with music for about 25 years.
So you started when you were a young child working on the music, and what was the first music that you played, the first instrument?
Piano, and then I quickly went to violin. So I did piano and violin as a child.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when did you say that you brought in the other techniques then, when you started applying the healing techniques?
I was a mother, and my middle child was 8 years old, and he won this contest and got to go see Bill Gates. And he answered a essay question. And the essay question was, imagine the magic of a computer. And I had just had a new baby who had colic. And he had to watch the baby while I did the dishes. And that was just awful. So he imagined a computer that you had like a hologram of mother. And then you could bung baby brother into the playpen and go off and play. Anyway, he got a lot of attention from this. And later on, I stole his idea, and I started to write the Bible. I was very much into very conservative Christianity, and I started to write the Bible as an autobiography. And I had a lot of difficulties with that when I started in the Old Testament. Right off the bat in Genesis, God liked one child and not the other of Adam's. He liked one gift and not the other. He throws them out into the multitude, and there were some stories where God wasn't very nice. And I had like an epiphany. I had to say, well, is really God got PMS, or is this Bible have human elements in it? And I decided that my God, the God I was going to make, the biggest God I could imagine, and that included love. And if I found anything that didn't have love, then I was going to discard it. And for me, it was a huge epiphany. And shortly, as soon as I did that, as soon as I reached that decision internally, I just felt a shift, and I was clairvoyant and clairaudient on a dime. And I started hearing things, seeing things, and hearing music. And then I started reading antiquity to find out what happened to me, or why my world was so upside down. And I read for maybe 12 years, and I'm a great geek. And I can read a textbook a day and remember it. I'm really very geeky. And so I just read maybe thousands of ancient volumes because I was looking for God in ancient times. And what I found was that in all of these religions across the world, that sound was the most powerful modality to help any spiritual aspirant for help, for intelligence, for enlightenment. And they hid their sound stuff because they believed that the different sound waves would influence brain waves and emotions, which we can scientifically prove today. And since there was no competing cell phones, TV, radios, they could control what people listened to. And in essence, they could control what people felt. So if you can control the thoughts and the feelings of the people and their health, you control them. And throughout all these ancient mystery schools, they had all these techniques for brainwaves, for aligning with heaven, for creating the harmonious sounds of nature, not just imitating them, but looking at the mathematics underneath nature and the mathematics under music and making them the same. And so they would use music like a toolbox. It was not entertainment up until maybe 300-400 years ago. And I also learned that because they felt it was such a powerful tool, that they hid it. And usually the spiritual students that would be like a master of depth would get the powerful stuff on the sound, and much of it was just handed down word to word, unless someone evil did it, like Adolf Hitler was into this big time, for example. Mm-hmm. And so as I went all across the globe, and for thousands and thousands of years, they were very secretive about this weapon, this tool of sound, but each little school would or philosophy or religion would disclose a few teasers, a few techniques. And I just did so many across the globe, across the time, that I just got volumes.
Very interesting.
Ancient magic. And it's pretty much much of it can be scientifically confirmed today. But we don't think of music in terms of medicine, but you are energy and vibration, which means waves in close proximity interact with you. So you might think you're separate, but when you listen, it interfaces with you, becomes you. You ingest what you listen to. Period.
Okay. Well, that's quite fascinating. So when you started your journey into sound healing came, from what it sounds, because you had a personal experience, and I would venture to say that it was a personal experience of remembering a past life or a past time when you were probably connected to that. Do you have any feelings in that regard? I
remember past lives, quite a few of them, where I would play the stars. Robert Beckert is a Stanford physicist, and he's written books like Cross Current and so forth, and his studies show that the most impactful frequencies, according to him, are very subtle, low electromagnetic frequencies, such as, like you're talking about solar flares and movements in the stars and astrology and low energy from the earth spinning and so forth. Because he was able to trace them through the body, that these affect your consciousness. So one of the many cool things they did in the antiquity, which I have replicated in my music, is that they would play the stars, and as the stars come in, certain frequencies come in, they can challenge you. For example, if a frequency comes in from the movements in the heavens below a hearing range, it's an octave, let's say, of the frequency of zinc, then that day, if you have a cold, your cold gets better. You have a good day. If you don't have a cold, you don't notice. But in ancient times, they were balancing these, and they were making it easier for their population to be harmonious and peaceful with each other. And then they would modify it for their needs. If they're going to go to war, of course, they're going to modify it. So anyway, I have memories of lifetimes of playing the stars, and I've also had memories of being healing. So, and I know I've played many instruments. Like in this lifetime, I had no musical training. I sat down and started writing symphonies, and I know how to do it. So I'm sure that's a past life as well.
Absolutely. And when you say playing with stars, what do you mean?
Well, think of a motorboat in the ocean, and as it moves, it creates a wave.
Okay.
So think of a planet moving in the solar system, creating a wave. It's below our hearing range, so we don't think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But they're recorded. NASA records them. You can buy them off of Motorola for, a certain amount a day, $9.99 a day. You can get the sounds coming in that day, that they picked up off a satellite. Now they'll list the pitches and the frequencies, and you can take them up octaves and see how they're going to impact you. So we would like to say astrology is just, foo-foo, but I'd say it's science. And it influences us. Like everybody has a composite frequency, and that just makes sense. Everything in your body vibrates. So if you were to take the average of it all, you're going to get your average frequency. So let's say I'm an A, okay? And if you put all the notes in an octave on a circle, and if you were to go right across that circle, like if you were to put all the colors on the circle, right across the circle would be the complementary color, and right across the circle of this musical clock we just made would be the complementary tone. It would be the tone that balances me. So, I'm going to, if I'm like an A, I'm going to be attracted to a D. And that person's going to help balance me. I'm going to like music more if it's in the key of D. My body's going to release endorphins if I hear a music with a lot of Ds, because it feeds me. It's what it needs. It balances me. It harmonizes me. And they were doing that in ancient times.
Right. So do you do this work full time, the healing with sound work?
I do, and I've been doing it for a dozen years or so full time.
How do you work with people?
Well, I haven't built up a large clientele because I am writing books and making CDs. I believe that I can get a larger audience that way. By reading my books, I'm disclosing everything. It's not like I'm hiding proprietary secrets, everything that I can, so that others can replicate the things that I've learned and found, and not spend 20 years getting the material. Or they can simply buy my CDs and haven't cost much and get all this tremendous benefit just by throwing the music on in the background. For example, I got into the Greeks use music for personality and emotions to balance your emotions, and it's kind of a difficult thing to explain, but they were also into the location of phi and the golden ratio within when two intervals combine. And they were placing phi in different points of the scale for different feelings that the music created. And they were trying to balance the personalities. So in copying that, my creative way to copy emotional balance was I used the frequency of flower remedies. And the idea there is like a rose is beautiful, but a daisy is cheerful, so that each has a gift, but it's a very specific gift, and so that you can use them for what feeling you would like to have, because music makes us feel. So I have the actual frequency of the composite flower, of the flower remedy, and then I spent a lot of time studying and working with music therapy in an aging center, and I found that some people are so full of depression or stress or this or that, that a lot of the techniques to uplift your feelings, simply don't work because you have too much baggage. You have to acknowledge, address, and release your negative emotions. You have to process them. And so I put a catharsis, just like the Greeks did. So like I have like a flower for impatience. It sounds impatient, and then it goes into very soothing, impatient one. I think of my impatience flower. It's built on a heartbeat. It's very calming. And then I embed it with the frequency of the impatient flower, patience flower. And the frequency of patience, it's an emotion, and you can target the frequencies of emotions. So just by listening to this music, you'll unload baggage and build virtue. You can stick it on the background. You can have other people listen to it, and they just get healed by walking by, paying attention. Now, the more attention you give to the music, the more power you give it, but you still get healed to varying degrees.
But what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about music and how throughout the ages music has evolved, and how the energy of music affects people these days compared to how it used to, affect people way back in the past?
Goodness gracious, you must be a psychic. I have a whole book on that.
I don't ask normal questions, so.
I have a whole book on that very question. I believe, and I'm not going to be able to prove it because it's a quick radio show, but I have a book on it, that we evolved into matter, which means that when I look at this history stuff, and there's quite a bit, particularly from Central America with the Mayans coming out now, and it's on Atlantis and Lemuria and these earlier societies, so there is written stuff on that. And they describe beings that are much more spiritual and peaceful, that are not quite incarnate. They might not even be as physical. The real early stuff describes beings that using the third eye or clairaudience, and at that time, the fossil record shows that there's different species of humans, and so they kind of dovetail nicely with many of these ancient stories. And I believe that the music, as we evolved into matter, that it was actually the music that did it. It's like each great epic in history has a style of music, and that's all people listen to, and it was controlled, punishable by jail if you played outside the allowed music. And each music created, or genre or style, created a certain set of thoughts and feelings, and that correlates perfectly to the historical attributes of the civilization. Like we think of the Egyptians and their temples, they're gaining subtle energy now, knowledge, but their music was geared to knowledge. The Greeks was geared more to personality, to feelings and to beauty. The Romans to power. And so you can see that as we, in my belief, evolved into matter, we were led by the music, just like the fairy tale, the Pied Piper. How he plays the music and all the children follow him. And I think that's what we've done. And we've evolved into matter. And you can look at this with a judgmental way to say that we've evolved away from God. We've lost our subtle energy abilities. We're not in tune with group energy like we used to. And we've lost a lot of, as a race, psychic abilities. You can look at it without judgment and say, oh, we came into matter. We're no longer kind of like in a group energy. We're no longer in a herd. We're much more independent. We're individual with all these experiences in each epic, mastering a different motion, which is a frequency, which is a type of music. When we master these emotions, it's like gaining the use of a color, and at the end of this long journey, we can paint with the rainbow colors. Or perhaps by mastering all the colors, which is the same thing, mastering all the frequencies of music, which is the same thing as saying mastering your emotions and thoughts, because they're all octaves, so they're interchangeable mathematically. Then you could say maybe now it's time for many people to ascend or experience enlightenment, because we've mastered the rainbow colors. So now we can create like white light kind of analogy.
It certainly seems like in this day and age, there's music all over the board.
Also note that when music started to go all over the board, so did our society. The music came first. Like if you look at the 60s, the early 60s, I was a little kid then, and it was exciting to get color TV. That was a big thing. Could you see something like that being a big thing now? Well, certainly not, because we have way too many options, individualism, individual expressions, and I believe that the energy was spawned by first having the music become so diverse.
Okay.
And that diversity allowed for the diversity in our experiences.
Okay. So now you have a couple of books out, Secret Sounds, Ultimate Healing, and Ancient Sounds, Modern Healing, correct?
Yes.
And what are these two books about?
Well, Ancient Sounds, I approached this topic from discussing how to use sound to change your brainwaves, to get smarter, to sleep, to get more energy, for astrology, for emotions, for chakras, kind of going like, okay, if you have a health issue, why would you want to listen to kind of what music? Dividing this subject up by that. The Secret Sounds book is about sound in your body. It starts with the work of Sherry Edwards, who created bioacoustics, and she was able to put a lot of the ancient mysticism on sound into science and replicable science. So that talks about how sound goes through your body, so how you might come up with liver music, atone for your headache with a very complex illness, how to listen to something to alleviate it or to enable your body to heal itself. It's very sophisticated science. But it also goes through like sound, how it relates to color, or the music you listen on the radio, or your astrology, or personality, who you like, who you don't like. Let's say you have you break up with your girlfriend, boyfriend, and you could figure out their sound and listen to it, and it would help your heartache. There's so many personal applications of sound. And then at the end of Secret Sounds, I went into some ancient mystery school techniques where you can use the sound in your voice to poignantly change things in your life. For example, if you have a little weak voice like this, it's very easy to attract a bully to try to tell you what to do. Whereas if you sound like this, a person that wants to bully somebody is going to be repelled. And that's kind of an oversimplification, but, I have exercises and processes on how to change your voice, to basically change your energy, to change you, and to change reactions to you. The Sufi masters, they say that you can always tell a person who's very successful from their voice. You don't need to look or even hear the content of what they're saying, the mere quality and sound of their voice. The information of who they are is contained in their voice. And that's a lot of the work of Sherry Edwards. She uses these fast Fourier transforms that were developed, I believe, in the 40s, and it breaks your voice out into component pitches, much like white light can be broken into rainbow colors with prism. And so she can look at every tone in your body, and this is what the Secret Sounds book is about. And you can see that your tone, your voice, is a compilation of your liver, your digestion, your heart, the cut on your foot, the fight last night. You can break it down and take a look at it. And so with that in mind, perhaps rather than trying to just use willpower, change your voice. Okay. And the ancient mystery schools say it's the most fast and sustaining way to change yourself and to evolve.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so you have a number of CDs out. What are your CDs and what will people get from them?
Okay. One is called Deep Wave Beauty that just won an award at IMAX for Specialty CD of the Year. So that was kind of fun.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. But the music is neoclassical, new age, very soothing, calming music that you might want to sleep to or something. And it has been synced with frequencies associated with collagen, the muscles of your face and neck, which when you age, they get a little flat. When you get stressed, they get a little sharp. So you can actually tune your muscles and affect your, the tightness and of your health of your muscles. So I do that for your face and neck. And then I put in collagen and some nutrients. And so it's subtle energy, but it's kind of a youthening. And the idea is to, beautiful music and feel beautiful, be beautiful on different levels.
Okay.
And so it has nutrients and vitamins. And so that's fun. Then I have a meditation CD because I was all over the globe and all over the times. Almost every one of these advanced schools used a different way to clear your chakras. They're all different. Some have tones, pitches, rhythms, affirmations, elements, and all kinds of things. And I combined them all into one CD. And then I sunk it with tones, like when we're talking about visualizing the root chakra, which is associated with red. Red's frequency, so I'm playing red. And that root chakra would be associated with a crystal, which is a frequency, which I'm playing. And it's associated with an element, which I'm also creating the sound of, etc. It's associated with an organ that has a healthy frequency, or a frequency when it's healthy, that I'm playing. So it's very powerful, unique chakra meditations. And then I have the Healing Flower Symphonies that have 12 emotions, and I did a lot of reading, like geeky normally does. And Edward Bach, who developed the flower remedies, suggested that the soul flowers, 12 flowers that he picked from around the world, he said that that's the matrix that would uplift mankind into emotional balance. So the frequencies like fear to trust, doubt to trust, loneliness to companion. Anyway, there's 12 different emotions that are very common, and again, just listening to them clears baggage and builds positive emotions. And you can feel like sometimes when you're listening to the clearing part, you might get a really ucky feeling. And if you're not real sensitive, you might say, oh, I don't like the music, or I don't like the person who walked by. But if you pay attention, like I'm very sensitive to little sounds like that. I can feel the crap leaving right at my emotional body. So they work. They definitely work. I guess they're not for pansies, though, because when you unload garbage, you feel it on the way out.
Okay.
But they're just a second. It's just a second. Then I have two ancient techniques. One was playing the stars and balancing with the elements and astrology, and that's the Stardust CD. And then the next one is Paint Your Soul. In ancient times, in all these societies, they noticed the spiral pattern found in the seashell, which is the same in the stars and in your bodies everywhere. It's God's favorite number pattern. And they would turn that into music, like they'd use the same numbers, for example, in cycles per second, or in the timing of the duration of musical phrases. So anyway, they would convert all of these nature patterns to sounds, and I did that in your Paint Your Soul. And the idea was that it creates a spiral and you ride up to God or to enlightenment. And then I also put in that the ancient solfeggio scale, which was found in the ancient Egypt stuff and resurfaced in the Middle Ages. And it's kind of like a phylus pattern. if the Fibonacci numbers create the spiral, then the solfeggio would create in the branch the straight line. I don't know how else to put that, but I think there's two major components. One's solfeggio and one's Fibonacci. And they're both in that CD.
Oh, I can tell your music is obviously well thought out and that you're putting a lot of energy into the song, so your listeners will actually, be feeling exactly what you're putting in. So that's awesome.
Yeah, and I've also been very lucky because let me see, I sometimes hear music, so sometimes I just copy what I hear. I guess a big cosmic cheat. And so I know I get a lot of inspiration and help for writing the music.
Awesome. So if somebody wants to find you, Jill, where would they do that?
www.jillswingsoflight.com.
Okay. Excellent. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Thank you very much. And we'll have to do another show and talk, because there's a lot of things that I know that you can speak about, and I can tell you have a lot of information.
That would be great.
So thank you absolutely. So thank you very much for being here, Jill. I appreciate it. Welcome to First Contact Radio. This is Josh. All right, there you go. So that's the interview with Jill Mattson. Very good. So we're going to go into our meditation, and for today's meditation, I'm going to go to this, play her music, so you can get a chance to hear what this sounds like. All right. So let's go over and close your eyes. Relax. All right, just imagine that you're walking along a path. And as you walk along that path, and you listen carefully to the sounds all around you, you hear the universe playing a tune that reaches into your soul. And as you feel this music, these sounds going into your soul, you feel the very doubts and fears leave your body, because they don't vibrationally belong there anymore. And as you let go of the doubts and the fears, you find yourself feeling lighter and more energized. And as you feel lighter and energized, you also feel more focused. And in this sense of focus, think about what it is that you want to have in your life. Set your focus towards that, and know that all things are possible. And because it's good to assist others in getting what they want, let us imagine sending a good vibe out into the world for everybody to be able to manifest the hope and dreams that they want. And know at the same time you are doing that, others are sending out good vibes to you. Just hold that thought in your mind's eye. Let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment. On the count of three. 3 coming back to the present moment, filled with faith. 2 coming back to the present moment, filled with confidence. And 1 coming back to the present moment, happy, healthy, and whole. Open your eyes and be awake. There you have it. That is our show, our prayer, our meditation for today. Thank you very much for being here. Again, I will be back tomorrow with more news information, so stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good to each other out there. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.